So I received this question you are seeing on the screen today, and so I decided to do a video in response to that. So it reads, "Good morning, sir. I noticed my mechanic wants to buy two top cylinder gaskets. I remember you saying that it causes a loss of power. Why is he using two? And how can we use only one?" So this message was from a 504 user who is rebuilding his engine. Okay, so I'm going to break it down the best I can. So one of the okay, before I mention why Nigerian mechanics use two cylinder head gaskets, especially on the 1.8, uh, 2.0, or even the 1.6 liter engines that you find in 404, 504, and the 505, is because of the thickness of the head gaskets. Now, at least I know for 2.0, or I know for the fact for this engine in Nigeria they call evolution engine. That's the common engine, the standard engine you find in 505 evolution, which is SN1A engine. That's the model. So the recommended cylinder head gasket thickness is 1.6 millimeter. I don't know whether to actually, it's not like 1.6 per se, it's like one, I don't know how to call that. That's 1.6. So I just use it 1.6. It's better for me. That way it's easier for one to understand. So it's 1.6 millimeter. 1.6 could be 1.64, 1.66, 1.65 millimeter. So, but we have two sizes. We have 1.4. In fact, I think it probably made me like one. Let me show you what I mean. This is what I mean by 1.4, 1.6. So, but technically what you put is 1.4 millimeter. So 1.4, 1.6. So when you visit the market, you'll find various thickness: 1.4, 1.6, or even 1.2. But I think on average, what you usually find is about 1.4, then 1.6. Yeah, but it all depends on manufacturer. So when you use the recommended thickness for that engine I told you about, or basically the 2.0 liter, or even the 1.8 or so, you will not have issue with the cylinder head. Remember, that's the recommended thickness of OEM, or whether it's aftermarket. But like I said, this is the recommended thickness for these cylinder heads. At least I know for a fact for SN1A engine. Maybe for the SM7 engine, that's 1.8, or SC engine, that's 1.6. It's possible that maybe 1.4 is recommended. So let me not say what I don't know for the fact. But I know at least that SN1A, which is 2.0 liter engine in the 504, 505, is 1.6 millimeter. So if you use 1.4 millimeter for the one cylinder head that is recommended for 1.6, probably I'll talk about the downside. But if you want, I'll talk about it towards the end of the video. But if you want to use the recommended one, that is 1.6. So what you find in Nigeria is 1.4, 1.6, or probably something else different. So if those 1.6, they call it single. That's the local word they call it. They use here. They call it single gasket. So as I'm talking about these older Peugeots, 504, 505, 404. So I want people to pay attention. They call it single gasket, meaning you use only that one. You don't add any other gasket on it. Then the one with smaller thickness, they call it double gasket. You use only one. That's the pack. You get only one. However, you are expected to buy additional one and add it when you want to mount the cylinder head to on top of the engine block. So I understand the difference between the two. So the two are available. Of course, the prices are not the same. In 2019, 2020, the single one, that's the one that is thicker, that is recommended, was about 4,500 or around 4,000 or so. Can't remember. Then the single one was like either 900 naira or 1,000, something like that. Between 800 to now, between 800 to 1,000 naira each. So if you are buying two now, it will now be 2,000, which is still cheaper than that. So if you want to buy that smaller, the lesser thick one, then you have to make it two. If you want to buy the single one, which is the recommended thickness, which is thicker than the 1.2 or 1.41, then that which is 1.6, then it has to be one, not two. Now, of course, difference there could be, because there are various brands in the market, quality might not be the same. So it's not up to you to find which quality that will be able to, the kind of work cylinder head, gasket work between the cylinder and the engine, cylinder head and engine. So if you put one that is not good enough, because the car will overheat. So now there are other reasons why in Nigeria people use, not just in Nigeria, people prefer to use the double head gasket for their 504, 505 and 404 petrol engines. Something we call cylinder head warp. Once the cylinder heads have issue, damage on that surface that rests on this engine block, then in that case, if you use one gasket, that single one, it might not work. The car will most likely overheat, or water will be leaking or some. So other things that can make sense when you to use double head gasket is this effect that water creates on the cooling system or even on the engine block. The rust, it brings in rust and eat up the surfaces of cylinder head, especially those 504, 505. We are using only water. It's going to happen eventually. It will eat up the gasket. Remember, the gasket is not metal, it's those paper one or whatever. I don't know actually the technical word, the material of those paper gaskets. So it will eat up the gasket, and this eating up the gasket, it will now affect the surface of the cylinder head. That's part of the head that touches or is mounted in between the block and the gasket. So once that happens, most times one might not be enough anymore. So you could now go for the double one. So those are like reasons why Nigerians actually use that double head gasket, or mechanics will recommend. However, if your cylinder head is in good condition, for me, there's no need for you to use that double head gasket. I'm going to mention why. There's no reason for you to use, or why you should stick with the recommended thickness. The downside to that double, because in as much as maybe your cylinder head now have a problem, and you decide, the only way for you to use that cylinder head is to use the double one. It doesn't mean it will not come with a downside. Yeah, it will. One of the downside is loss of power. You will experience loss of power. Anybody that says there won't be any loss of power, it will remain the same with the single gasket. That person is either so ignorant that he doesn't know what he's talking about, or lacks experience when it comes to these 504s, 505, and the rest. This older Peugeot car, difference is there. I mean, in fact, it's just so logical that I don't even need to explain that this difference you're supposed to have between the two. Remember, the recommended size is about 1.6. The non-recommended one is 1.4. Or even if you want to use it, that's 1.4. For me, that 1.4, probably there could be engine models that is commended for. I can't really say for sure, but I know, like I say, SN1A engine. I can tell you specifically what Peugeot put on their manual, workshop manual, repair manual for that engine is 1.6. If you like, make any argument. I'm telling you exactly what Peugeot said. That's with the part number, everything must be 1.6. So 1.6. Then when you use 1.4 to 1.4, how many will it give you? 2.8. Or you buy the one of 1.5. Maybe there's 1.5, because like I said, there are various sizes in the market, so it's not up to you to know which one you're buying. But mostly what you find is 1.4. So imagine you now use those two, either 1.4 or 1.5 or thereabout. So you're looking at about 2.8 to 3 millimeter. Now you can see the difference, the gap difference between the 1.6 that is recommended and the almost 3 millimeter. So you push the cylinder head further away from the engine block. That's the piston. Not even the piston now stays far away. So that combustion taking place, that 4 cycles taking place there, is going to affect the power that the engine produces. One of the symptoms, which is very easy for those who probably not know, wondering what I'm saying, is you get something like all this drone noise. Your engine will be moo. Now, what I'm not saying, it's not even when you are on high speed. If you want to make move, you will just be giving moo. If you don't understand it, drive one with that cylinder, single gasket, then you will understand the difference. You will see how sharp your acceleration is from standstill when you want to take off. The other one will give you that as if your engine is weak, even though your engine might be very sound, all the part of the engine may be sound. But once that has been introduced, they push the pistons far away from the valves. You are going to get this thing, and it will reflect on the power the engine produces or releases. So it will give you that drone annoying noise as if your engine is weak, and then also the power will not be enough. So if it's supposed to be 90 horsepower that it produces, then you probably get about 70 something, or maximum 80. That if you get to that. But it's not even about the maximum power anymore. Even though the torque, all those things will be lost. So that's the disadvantage of that single gasket. Double gasket. You will get it. It will solve one problem. It will solve the problem of engine cylinder head issue. If you already have that issue, yeah, you can still Of course, it can, if it's that bad, then probably the head gasket, even if it's two, might not solve it. So, in as much as it can solve one problem using the double, but it can actually the downside to it, the baggage it comes with, you might not like it. So, like I said, anybody telling you that he will not do anything, that person is inexperienced, at least on that side of 504, 505. Whatever I'm telling you is not as a result of, oh, maybe the experience I got from my own personal cars. I'm telling you as somebody who also repairs other people's own, someone who also drive or have driven many of the Peugeot 504, 505 with these different cylinder heads. Probably at the time when their own had single and at the time when it had double. So yes, there is difference. Some people even do it in their modern Peugeot cars, 406, 407, or name it. They will go and put two. I mean, there's one horrible one. Was it two or three? Those thicker pepper head gasket for EW10J4. I think it was even three. It was three in this case. Timing belt couldn't even enter. Remember, all these things have been measured by the manufacturer for them to now recommend a particular timing belt model with probably 150 or 163 or 180 or 200 teeth on that belt. So if they're telling you use this belt, it means they know that the thickness of the head gasket that will be between the cylinder head and the block with this teeth number will tension the belt very well without stressing any component along the line or without making the belt to vibrate or be wobbling. So when you go and put a thicker head gasket, and not only that, you put two, three, most times you can't set that timing properly no matter what you do. The tensioner, the timing chain or the timing belt tensioner can no longer work or set the way it's supposed to be. You'll be trying very hard to squeeze in the timing belt. If your car is not taking, you may even tear it partly before you eventually enter. But most people, unfortunately, that's what they want. They prefer to increase the thickness of the head gasket they put, double it, triple it. Reason being that when you do that, if your timing belt cuts, it will protect your valves, so your valves will not hit the pistons, so you won't damage your valve. You see, local, it's not even local, ignorance preventive, I call it ignorant, you say ignorance. It's not because I don't even understand. If you want to apply preventive measure on your engine, why not use the recommended belts or high quality belts so that it doesn't fail? Then, okay, you just take it upon that you don't want to change this belt until it fails. So, and because you know when it fails, this is what it's going to do. It's going to damage the engine cylinder valves. So in that case, you now go and increase the gap between the cylinder head or between the pistons and the valves by putting up to 3 thick head gaskets, so that when eventually fail, the valves will not reach the piston. So it will mess up your timing chain because it will now overstretch it. So which means it will shorten the lifespan as in very, very rapidly. It will fail before you even say, if you're lucky, you get a few thousand kilometers of it. Because it will be overstretched, vibrating as it's running. Like I said, the tensioner can no longer work as it's supposed to be. You can't set that tensioner well when the cap has been messed up. But another thing you now observe is your coolant temperature will always stay lower than it should. irrespective of how these other system components, your cooling systems components are, their condition, whether it has thermostat, whether the fan is running as factory design, you find that it will be hard for your cooling system or coolant temperature gauge to stay at 90 while you're in motion. Even when you are stationary, it may be very hard. Remember, combustion, as it's taking place in between the cylinder head and what's it called? Not even between, it's on the block. So as that is going on, well, you could call it in the cylinder. Yeah, but more or less on the block, then on the surface of the cylinder head. So the heat, they are supposed to be that heat is supposed to, two of them, the cylinder head is not supposed to stay too far from the engine block, so that it will be able to maintain that heat. Engine is supposed to run very hot. So when you do that, what you now keep, so you now reduce that heat between the two. So all the ones I know, people that do that, you see their temperature gauge always staying very, very low. Even with the fan running the way it's supposed to be, comes up, go off, all those things, your temperature gauge will always stay low. It may not be as low as 70 degrees Celsius, but it will stay most times below 90 degrees Celsius. No matter what you do. Maybe worst case scenario, very hot the afternoon, maybe it might go a little bit close to 90 or stay at 90, but once you're in motion, it keeps dropping lower and lower and lower. But this what I'm telling you is what I've observed on people that put 2-3 head gasket on their EW engines or these other modern Peugeot cars. So when you come back to the 504, these older ones, because unfortunately, most of these 504 don't have coolant temperature gauge. So what I'm explaining might not make sense to the people that are using 2 head gasket. It might not make sense. So you might not even understand that your temperature is staying lower than it should. So I'm saying that difference between the 1.6 and about 2.8 millimeter, it has an effect. It will have an effect on the power the engine produces, how the engine reacts. The acceleration won't be that sharp. You try to press the accelerator to accelerate very quickly. You just be giving you more. Gradually to not gain the speed, so you also be ending up wasting fuel. These engines are, they're not too talky, or the power is not like compared to the modern ones. But at least knowing that these cars 504, 505, 404, their weights are very, very low. I mean, about 1050 kg or 1100 kg. These are very, as much as their body, the pants are thick and everything, but they don't actually have weight. What gives weight to cars, especially these modern ones that have up to 1500, 1400 kg, is because of the gadgets they introduce on these newer cars. That's what people giving them weight. Even though they've even reduced the thickness of the body, that's the pan, on the modern cars, but because of all these other gadgets, equipment they introduce, even power steering, AC, this and that, all these things are adding weight. Then you enter inside the car, radio, this, that, this, everything. The dashboard, look at how big the modern cars dashboard are, or look like. I mean, look, it's weight everywhere. Power windows, they also are contributing weight, or higher weight to vehicles. Unlike these other 504 that even when they have power windows, it will only be on the front windows. Then maybe the high trim ones may have the rear ones. All these things add weight to the cars. So 504, 505, no, they don't actually have weight. Most people might be thinking that their weight will be too. No, 1001, 1000, or maybe 1002 mass, depending. So that small power, the 70 something horsepower, the 90 something, 105 horsepower or thereabout, is enough to pull those lightweight of the body very well. So in that case, you really, when your engine is sound, you use the good recommended thickness of the head gasket, you can barely feel those cars underpowered, especially those ones with 2.0. Forget that now we drive more faster cars, but back then, I mean, come on, when you are driving 2.0, I mean, there's something else. Talking about the GL, the 505 SR, the 505 Evolution, even the best line, because all these cars, all these models I'm talking about, they have 2.0 liter at that time. So that's the point. So but it all depends. So me, I prefer, if I were to advise, I prefer that single one. What I have on my own SL1A engine is that single one. I don't like the idea, in as much as the effect, the downside of the double one may not be that much. So some people, they are not into performance per se. So who cares if it makes the car a little bit slower by using double gasket? Yeah, but for me, no, I just, number one, mine was basically a brand new cylinder. It was brand new. It's not like basically. I bought a new cylinder head, so why would I use double when the single is available? You know, but some people do it even when their cylinder heads are intact. They will go and prefer the double one. So that double one, yes, one of the reasons mechanics also recommend it is because if you go and use that single, the 1.4 on an engine that is meant to use 1.6, about two things might happen. When you after coupling the engine, because the thickness is not up to the recommended, you won't be able to torque down the cylinder head properly on the engine block. Remember, it has the cylinder head bolts or engine block bolts. How many bolts? I'm trying to remember how many of these bolts that torque the engine down, the cylinder head down. So it won't be tight firmly on the engine block, even though you've done everything and you believe that, oh, it has tight. No, there will still be small gaps. So when you put water or coolant and start your engine and run, what will now happen once the temperature starts coming up? You see water gushing out between the engine and the cylinder. Also, you see it coming out, not just they say you see water coming out, but of course, as it's doing that, it will also go in and mix with your oil. So that's why you can't use that 1.4, especially if the recommended size is 1.6. So, if you ask me, I would say like 90% of this 504. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating. You could say maybe 80%. It could even be more than 90%. Because as an average Peugeot mechanics or 50, I'm talking about mechanics that work on 504s and 505s. Almost every one of them will tell you use their double gasket. They don't believe in the single one, which is that thicker one. Some will claim that, oh, if you use it, it will cause overheating. Like I said, two things might happen if you use the 1.4 in place of 1.6. Your engine water might start gushing out, or engine will start overheating. I've seen a case where, in that case, the issue was the cylinder head. It has a problem, that warp issue. So what now happened was the guy was in a 505. They put two, started the engine. They would I even say, yeah, I think it was overheating actually, because what happened was the car started accelerating itself. Once the engine ran for about 10 minutes and it started accelerating itself, you could hear, you know how engine overheats, you just be accelerating, going higher, 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 higher. At least for this older car, most modern Peugeot cars, they will not understand this, you know. For Peugeot, older 504s, 505, all those carburetor engines, when they are, or even the EFIs, when their engines start overheating, that's what you expect. You see the the RPM, engine will be just be accelerating itself as if um you are accelerating the car, even when you are not. You just keep going higher and higher until you now start giving you that knocking sound and the rest. Modern ones probably, I'm not sure they do that. Do they even give that kind of symptom? I don't even remember. You know. So in that case, the guy, remember he put two, he started doing that. It was obvious the cylinder head, that surface that faces down was very bad. So what he now did is have to remove the cylinder head again, added additional one, making it three. Took down the cylinder head, started the engine, and the overheating stopped. The car stopped accelerating itself. You know, so in that case, yeah, is a plus to the person that have that car that time. This thing happened in this experience. This story I just told you took place was sometime in 1999 or 1998, or sometime then, when I was using my 504 GL. So I was at a workshop, and we are doing that on 1505 Series 1 with 1.8 liter engine. I think it was a 505 GL. So there are cases where, like I said, but to me, it's not like the best option, but at least you could be able to use your engine once your cylinder head have problem. If you can afford it, you change the cylinder head and put a good one. So that's one of the things, the downside that comes with cylinder head, double one, the engine don't sound, the power issue. Then if you go and use is if your cylinder head is bad already, I use single gasket, the thick one, the recommended one, yeah, you have this kind of issue, overheating and the rest. So there are reasons why people use them. So it makes sense. I'm just saying, especially if your cylinder head is still intact, I don't see reason why you should use that double. Because it's not as if you use the double that eventually your car will not overheat. If there's an issue, both gaskets will burn and it will cause overheating. So it doesn't matter if you use two or three. So you can do it temporarily just to buy time until you find a good cylinder head. If you really want to enjoy that your engine, you enjoy it much better with that single one. So it's now up to you again to find out the recommended thickness gasket of yours. I'm only telling you, or mine, which is SN 2.0 liter engine, SN1A, is 1.6. I think either 1.6, 64 or 65 or 66. But like I said, an average 1.6. Anything less than that, you have to double it. If you use anything less than 1.6, you have to, unfortunately, when you double it, now instead of 1.6, now be about 2.8 to 3 millimeter. So now imagine what it will be, how the engine will react when it goes above the recommended thickness. It can no longer give you exactly what you want. you know. So I hope I understand. That's why I told the person, see, I'm going to do a video on this because it's more like a long story. It's not something I'll just type in a sentence. I'll imagine if I had to explain this thing on a post, man, it's basically the whole day I'll be typing. So it's been easier for me to just open the phone and talk when I'm done, especially when I have the time. So hope it makes sense. I'm just saying, for me, I will go for the single, especially as long as I know my cylinder head is okay. Why bother with this? Then, if you are not sure, if the cylinder head is confirmed, partially bad, that it won't make sense to use the single anymore. Well, you could use the double. That's basically most Nigeria. Almost every 505 you find now, 504 in Nigeria. You out of let's assume you see you have like 5,000 still running in Nigeria. These 505, 505 have 5,000 units of them on the road. Maybe out of the 5,000, only about 50 of them will have the single gasket. I'm telling you, I'm not. See, only about 50, not even up to 100 out of the 5,000 may be running with single, because it's like a norm that everybody that single is better. No, double is better. That single. In fact, I don't think they actually. If you understand the difference, if you want to know this, past sellers will educate you more as well. Why they have single and that's say a double one. For example, if you buy the that time when they used to have complete gasket for these engines in 504s, as you buy one complete everything you need to couple that engine, both the cylinder and gasket. So at that time they have one that this complete gasket that come without those smaller the lesser thick gasket with every other thing inside. They also have the one that come with the thicker ones. So I remember that time, if you buy that complete gasket, the one with maybe 1.4 or 1.2, if you are buying, they will now bring a single another one and add to that complete gasket, because they know that one gasket, the 1.2 or 1.4 there will not be enough. So if you are lucky, in fact, if you are buying the cylinder head gasket and if you are lucky to get one that's less than 1.4, that's if your car can no longer use the 1.6, the cylinder head cannot work well again with 1.6, or that you couldn't find a quality 1.6. Maybe the one they have most likely may not be able to handle that heat. So, or not, so decide to go for the the double ones. If you can find anyone with less than 1.4, at least it means it will reduce the thickness. It will still be higher than the 1.6, obviously. No matter what you do, it will be about 2 point something. But at least reduce it. The lower it drops, better for you, so that the distance will not be that much between 1.6 and the 2.8. So the distance between the cylinder head and the engine block will not be that much high from the recommended, which is 1.6. For the engine, I don't know, maybe the SM7 is 1.4. I don't know. I didn't research on that. But I do know most people that suffer the issue of overheating when they put 1.6 could be because of, like I said, almost every Nigerians, if you, back then we are all using water on their engine cooling system, so eventually over time it start affecting their cylinder head. So maybe they put that single, the engine will start overheating, so they end up putting double. So, but there was no understanding of why these issues were happening to the cylinder head. Okay, I think that's enough. So probably makes sense. So I'm not discouraging, but I want you to know the side, it comes with a downside for those double. So even if in my case it happens that maybe I need to change the cylinder head gasket and I could no longer find a quality or either as a high quality single gasket, of course I know it's going to affect the engine power, but I'll try and see if there's anyone like there's like 1.2 or anything, so it won't be that high. Or even if I end up with that double 1.4 into 2, yes, just to get the car running, but I won't really be satisfied. But I know, okay, this is what I just have to live with it until I can find the quality, a higher quality single and switch back. And then you have to now do everything in your power to prevent your cylinder head from having issues so that it won't stop you from using the 1.6. Okay, that's all.